welcome to the All Jammed Up podcast presented to you by Music Never Stopped. Today is Monday, June 2nd, and today on the show we have Brad Corrigan.
What are you doing, podcast for Lot?
Yeah.
Come be on a Lot podcast.
Yeah, hell yeah, All Jammed Up.
This dude's doing a podcast. If you want to be on some podcast, come do an interview.
Hell yeah. Good morning, fools, and welcome to the All Jammed Up podcast. I'm your host, Clint Dotson, and it's June 2nd already. It's crazy to think that I started this in January, and it's already June. We've had some awesome guests on the show, got to meet some new people, make some new friends, and just crazy that we made it this far already, and feel like we're really just gaining more and more momentum each week. So thank you guys for listening and supporting the episodes. The numbers get bigger like each and every week, and I just can't thank you guys enough for taking a couple hours out of your week to listen to my podcast. So hell yeah. Today on the show we have Brad Corrigan. He is in the band Dispatch. He also just directed a movie called Ileana's Smile that's out now on Apple TV and a few other places as well, but Apple TV is the main one, I believe. I really encourage you, take an hour out of your day and go watch that film. It's a sad movie, but the message is what's really important, and Brad does a great job of telling a story through that movie. So, yeah, definitely check that out. I think you guys will not regret it. It's a really good movie. And I also wanted to give a quick shout out to some of my hometown boys in VA. I guess they're in New York now. But I've been friends with these guys. I was in first grade with Nick, and I've known Wes forever too. Keep is their band. They just released a new album last week. They're a good alternative rock band. You know, not necessarily jam band, but if you want something fresh, want to check something different out, go check out the boys. Keep VA is their Instagram handle. It's a great album. Check it out. Listen to some of their old stuff too, man. Those guys are awesome. But today's interview is about Brad, so let's get right into it. Brad Corrigan from the band Dispatch.
Hey, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the
Everybody
procedure,
stay calm.
everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm.
How is everybody doing today? We have Brad Corrigan from the band Dispatch. How are we doing today, Brad?
Good, Clint. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's an honor to have somebody from Dispatch on the podcast.
Oh, man. You're too kind. Thanks for having us. Us.
I haven't been doing this all that long, so, you know, somebody like somebody like you is really a really cool experience for me, so I'm happy that you came on.
Appreciate it, man.
How's everything been going for you, man?
Good. I'm here in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. My wife and I and our littles, we're family building right now. We got a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a baby coming in June. So we got a lot of action here in the nest, but things are going good.
Good to hear. So I know you guys, Dispatch is on a tour right now, right?
We're starting June 3rd.
Starting June 3rd, okay. And then you also have a movie coming out as well, correct?
Yeah, Ileana's Smile actually just came out last Friday, the 16th.
Okay, I just watched it the other day, man. That is a powerful story. I cried more than I thought I was. But we'll definitely get into that. But I kind of just wanted to start with your music career. So I know guitar is the instrument that you play. What made you want to pick up a guitar and get into music?
Jeez. I think since we've got a little room to long answer some of these questions, it was an interesting time. I was probably 14, 15 years old, and our family, we loved music in our family, and I always enjoyed it, but I was just, I was a singer from an early age because my grandpa sang, and I wanted to be like him, but it wasn't until I was in, middle school, first year of high school that I was like, oh, how about an instrument? And our family went through a really weird financial crisis where there was this guy that mismanaged hundreds of millions of dollars in Denver. It was like a really big Ponzi scheme thing. And sadly, my dad was mixed up in it and lost, most of our stability in it, and my mom could tell that, like, so essentially my sister and I were going to switch schools, and we were going to sell our house, and what we had known as stable was just going to change. Everything was going to change for us. And we were okay, but it was still a lot of change. And my mom was like, "Hey, you want to go check out some guitars?" And I think she could just kind of like read it on me that, like, hey, maybe music would be a good place for him to go with this. So we went to a music store, and I was like, I like that one, and I was like, but I know that we can't do that right now, because like I know we don't, whatever it means for you guys to not have money. I think we probably can't get me a guitar. And my mom's like, we can get you a guitar.
Nice.
So she kind of like gave me a guitar to move into this big transitional season. And man, I'm grateful for it. I had so much fun, but I also was kind of scared, just not knowing what was coming. And processing through music and art was a really healthy place to go.
And was it acoustic or electric guitar?
Acoustic, and then,
Acoustic.
within a year, I think I had figured out how to mow enough yards to get an electric guitar. So I had this bright green electric that I plugged in, and yeah, that was it. Off to the races.
Nice. I just got an acoustic guitar a month ago. My girlfriend actually bought me one, so I've been trying to learn how to play. There's like Doc Watson and like Grateful Dead are the two bands, like two sounds I'm trying to make. So what were the sounds you were trying to make when you first got your guitar?
Oh, dude, if you're jumping in with Doc Watson and Jerry Garcia, that's the deep end first.
I've learned the beginning of Shady Grove so far.
All right, you're getting it. I think for me early on it was Pink Floyd. I think that my very first pluckings were around Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin. I'd say those were the two. And that just opened up so many, worlds of what fingerpicking was versus what strumming was. And then I got into AC/DC and tried to figure out how Angus Young played blues guitar. And I was like, I don't have that, man. That guy, he shreds, but some good stuff.
So you got the guitar, started learning some chords, some songs, and then did you create the band, the Wood River Bandits? Did I get that right?
That's right. Yeah. Oh, man. Nice research there. Yeah, we were known as the Rubber Band when we signed up for the high school talent show. And I don't think we won, but we had a lot of fun. And then we got really serious to record a tape and saved up all our money, went into a studio, recorded with an engineer that had been at the original Woodstock. And so we thought that was really cool until we realized that he was nearly deaf. So, so we're like, wow, dude, that is so painfully loud. Why is he mixing like that? And I think there was a reason. But yeah, high school, being in a band just was so eye-opening. And I remember, the samples, Big Head Todd and the Monsters, and then Pearl Jam was right in my senior year of high school, just when they hit. So to go from kind of acoustic rock to grunge that was a really exciting time.
Mm-hmm. And was that like all through high school? You guys did that together?
Yeah, probably 2 years, but it
Okay.
seemed like a lifetime.
And then you go to college, and then Dispatch forms in college. Is that correct?
Yeah, but our high school band was so serious, and we were so like heartbroken when the band came apart that I was like, I'm not doing that again. So I was very kind of slow toward the form a band thing. I had met Pete at Middlebury, and he and I were just playing acoustic guitar together and singing, and I was like, that's cool. And then Pete was playing with Chad in another band, and I didn't want to be in that band, but I thought it was fun to go listen to Pete and Chad do their thing, and it was Pete who was insistent that, like, dude, the three of us should get together and try to do something. So I kind of dragged my feet a little bit, but we had a lot of fun the first time we were kicking around and singing some harmonies. And so, yeah, 96-ish, 97, we started making music and recorded our first album, Silent Steeples.
Okay. And then, so the band, I know in the movie you said the music went viral before we even knew what viral was. Can you kind of walk me through, like, I was born in 96, so how does something even become viral in 1996?
Dude, I love it. The music went viral in 99 or 2000
Okay.
because of Napster and LimeWire and all this file sharing stuff that happened before we really knew what it was. Like, we had played so many shows on the East Coast and might have had, after 2 or 3 years, might have had 400 people singing with us in Boston and New York. But that's playing and playing and playing and playing. We flew to California to play a college gig, and in the back of our minds, we're like, what, 20 people, and maybe 5 people will know our music that live back in Boston. And we got there, and there was like 1,000 kids, and they were singing every word. And we were like, okay, we're getting punked. This is the biggest show we've ever played. Look at everyone singing at the top of their lungs. And where are we? We're on the West Coast. And we asked the student activities person afterwards, and she's like, oh, you don't know Napster? And I remember thinking Napster was some Psycho Dispatch fan that went to school there. I thought it was the nickname. So I was like, who's this Napster? I want to give this Napster like a full membership. How about some Dispatch t-shirts? But she then explained, you don't know what Napster is. Napster is how you share your music. And I was like, oh, yeah, that Napster. Yeah, right. But just, like for your music to go anywhere, we were mind blown.
What song was it?
Oh, I
kind of like that did it, you think?
It's probably Bang Bang and The General. I think The General was the one that probably went the furthest through all of the file sharing network. But those two seem to be the ones that one and Bats in the Belfry, those 3 fans were pretty stoked.
I think if you ask a lot of people, like, Dispatch? And they're like, I don't know. And then you play The General, they're like, oh, yeah, I know Dispatch. That seems like a song that everyone kind of knows it once they hear it.
Yeah.
What was the so Dispatch The General, Bang Bang, some of these big songs that got you guys known? Is there like a certain song that Dispatch wrote, Dispatch made that you wish got a little bit more love?
From the early years?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. There's another song that we wrote called Alias that I'm glad, Alias and Flying Horses, those two, but Alias in particular, still when we play it, some songs like you write them and you record them and then you literally watch them become someone else's. Like our fans embrace and sing that song with more energy, than we do. Like there's this handoff somehow that happens, and it's like it's a timeless song. It's about like the depth of relationship, the depth of friendship, not being sure how much longer is something going to last. Hold my hand one more time and tell me that you're strong. I'm strong if you're strong. It's just it's a really cool song that has this connectivity to it. So I'm grateful that one also kind of rose to the surface because, it's just a great thing to feel so connected to everyone that's in the room and to see everyone feeling like they're one.
Now, when you write a song like that, so a lot of my interviews that I do on this podcast are with like jam bands whose songwriting sometimes doesn't make the most sense. Mm-hmm. So like when you write a song like that one that has a deeper meaning like that, are you writing the lyrics before you write the music, or does it kind of come to you as you're making the music first?
I think it really depends. Chad in the band is our lead songwriter.
Okay.
He and I have answered that question, and I think I know him well enough to say, like, both of us are like, you just never know how a song is going to arrive. Sometimes you've got a journal filled with, like, lyrical ideas and themes, and you're just keeping track of things, a cool word, a cool phrase. And then kind of you're also playing guitar, and there's a riff in the back of your mind or a chord progression, and you're not totally sure yet what's going to connect, and then like one thing will remind you of the other and you try them out and they fit. That's usually what happens for me anyway. Every now and then in a super inspired moment you're kind of just, I don't know, maybe so focused that something new lands in the guitar or piano and a melody and a lyric all at the same time. But that's the exception to the rule. That's maybe 3 or 4 songs ever for me.
Yeah. What do you think, like those 3 or 4 songs, what was the inspiration to like just dial in on those lyrics?
It's usually something that is very heart-centered. Something that you are feeling so deeply, whether you're grieving something or whether you're questioning something, and you're kind of in that reflection or in that inner space, you know. And then, you know, like my mom handing me my guitar when I was 14, you kind of go to an instrument in order to make the wrestling a little easier, or just make a little more sense. I don't know how to describe it, but take the pressure off, I guess, just you and your head. And as soon as a little bit of music starts to flow or a melody starts to flow, the questions that you're grappling with, they become artistic as opposed to becoming unanswerable.
Okay, that makes sense. So Dispatch started '96. Over the years, there's been, I don't know if they're breakups or farewells or just time apart, but it always seems that you guys get back together. What do you think it is about Dispatch that just keeps bringing the band back together?
I think what kind of over the years kept us in a space where there was sort of like this inhale, you know, like you're playing and you're playing and you're playing and everything is just to the absolute max, and then you just realize like, oh man, I need to exhale and have some solo space. All three of us being writers and singers probably got to a place where it's like, okay, I just want to write and sing by myself right now. I don't want two more co-creators and two critics and two people that I got to share the mic with. Like, your ego is so much a part of, I mean, it could be your whole life, but for us, hopefully, there's a little less now than there was. In your early years, your ego is so centered in, I have something I need to say, and I have something I know how I want to say it. And then you pull away from your mates, and you're so stoked that you're captaining your own ship, and you go, you know, a little ways, and you're like, man, this is lonely. I sure wish I had a critic. I sure wish I had a co-creator. I sure wish I had some extra mates aboard, you know. So important to know when you need a break, and important to know when you are ready to collaborate, so that you don't, you know, the peaks and valleys of both can be pretty dangerous if you're not self-aware enough to know when you need a break. You may take a permanent one, you know, because you stayed in it for too long.
Okay. Yeah, man, that's I think I can agree with that too. Just being, you know, I'm a younger guy, and I find myself getting to the point now where, like, hey, just shut up and listen for a little bit, instead of just like trying to be like, well, my idea is actually the better one here. It's like, try to learn instead of just go forward with yourself.
Nice.
So in my research, I found out about Bradigan. Is it that I'm saying that right? A solo project you do, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Can you tell us, like, what drove you to pursue that, and how is it different from being in Dispatch?
Well,
it came out, kind of just answered that a little bit.
It came out of the breaks. You know, like Chad went and started state radio, and Pete started Pete Francis, and I started Bradigan, and, you know, we each kind of had something to prove, I think, that we could exist outside of Dispatch. And I enjoyed, I did a couple of albums and had some really awesome bandmates and some great live experiences on tour. And it was just, it kept me in that space where I'm trying to learn more about who I am and the art that we're creating. And I was very grateful to have that that secondary group, you know, that secondary team to enjoy and have a different kind of creative process. And then also was thrilled that, like, some of Pete's favorite guys that he played solo with became friends of ours, and some of my bandmates became friends of theirs, and same thing with Chad and his crew. So as much as we were trying to kind of separate ourselves, we still were like, we were islands. We were staying close enough to each other that we were keeping tabs on each other, and from time to time we would play on the same festival or play a show where we were all kind of getting a shot at doing some solo stuff. But yeah, it was like a little thread that was just going here and there that I could go to for solo action.
So during these splits, there was never like animosity between the band. It was kind of just like, hey, let's just try this out ourselves.
Yeah, that one, I'd say our first split had some animosity in it, and that's what was so disappointing to the three of us, is that, when we first formed the band, like on the highest high, we were like, hey, if our friendships ever are at risk, we got to stop, right? Oh yeah, for sure. Like we agreed before we even got down the road that, hey, let's make sure that we take good care of each other. And we had gotten so burned out because people were just like, go, 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 oh, you guys are doing it. And instead of taking some breaks early on, we kept running and running and running and got to a place where, it was very hurtful and potentially harmful, in the way that we were treating each other. So that was a long break, and that was kind of, we weren't sure if we'd come back. But once we did come back to play, we did a farewell show in 2004, and it was just such a positive experience. Still walked away, and then 3 years later played Madison Square Garden, and we were so blown away, super positive, but still knew, like, all right, one show every couple of years is great. That's about all we got in us. And then 2011 is when we started playing full time again.
Okay. And since then, it's been full dispatch.
Yeah, full dispatch, but also, plenty of change along the way. In 2016, Pete and Chad and I were having a lot of, internal conversation about what made the most sense for Pete in particular and for the band, given Pete's struggle with mental illness and what it was like, was it better or worse when he was on tour? And we just felt like we were kind of going around and around hoping for a different outcome, and just felt like this is not the best, touring is not the best thing for somebody that is struggling with mental illness in the way that Pete was. And so it was kind of a stabilizing measure for all of us to just agree, like, we're going to be better off to part ways here and still be brothers. Yeah, it's going to hurt, but still have respect for each other, still try to heal up and be grateful for all that we've done. But, we sooner would have just stopped playing music altogether than see, someone hurt.
Yeah. So being like, just being in a band in high school and then forming this band in college and then having all this success in college that kind of came out of nowhere, and then 7 years later playing a show at MSG, like your career's kind of had like a lot of ups and downs, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost seems like kind of unexpected too, like going to California, all those people being there, getting back together and selling out MSG. What piece of advice would you have given Brad as a freshman going to college about music, knowing what you know now?
Oh, I think to lighten up. Not
That's
be
always
so
good advice.
Yeah, just to not be so serious. I think I actually really I put a lot of bad energy into the band because of what I needed. Like what I needed this to be so perfect or feel this way, or like my ambition and my seriousness, I think nearly pushed Chad and Pete out of wanting to make music together. We all had our own kind of freckles that we brought into it, but I think I needed it so bad. I mean, there was just a lot of other things going on in life where I wasn't so sure about things. So I wanted to be sure of one thing, and that was, well, let's make this band work, Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think any of us in any place in time should probably speak to ourselves, myself included, me to me today. Lighten up, dude. It's all right.
Yeah. That's sound advice. I think a lot of people could probably use it. If we lighten up, things would probably be a lot easier for all of us.
Come on.
So I want to get into the movie now a little bit, and I guess I've watched it, so I have some questions prepared, but I guess just the easiest way for the listeners is maybe you just take a couple minutes to just describe what the movie's about, and we can go from there.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for that, Clint. Well, apropos of our conversation, it was on a break after we had played our biggest show in 2004 in Boston that we called The Last Dispatch. You know, there were 100,000 plus people that were there singing and chanting, don't break up, and, you know, shutting down a highway, and like just this historic moment of seeing kind of like because of Napster and because of file sharing that became like our radio network, we had fans from all over the world that came to Boston to say goodbye to us. And leaving that stage was, you know, on the one hand, you saw and experienced all the beauty and the magnitude of something you could have never dreamed of, and you're leaving it behind. And so you know, it's kind of a bit of a free fall after that show. And I said yes to an invitation to go to Nicaragua to play music with a friend of mine from Bradigan, or two friends from Bradigan. Tiago, my bass player, was from Brazil, and then Reynaldo, who still plays percussion with Dispatch, he's from Puerto Rico. So Ray was fluent in Spanish, Tiago in Portuguese, and me very white, very English speaking only. But the three of us went and a couple other bandmates and played this youth rally in Nicaragua in 2005. And my church had organized a connection to an orphanage that they were supporting, and so I said, yeah, I'll go over there too and play guitar and soccer with the kids. But I really thought it was a 3 or 4 day trip and probably a one-off. And the Nicaraguan taxi driver that was in queue, that came all the way through, you know, the long line, and ended up picking me up and some of my mates. After a couple days of him driving for us, he's like, you're here to support kids in Nicaragua. Let me show you where you really need to support them. Because he had taken us to the orphanage. Like, he saw the different places where we were trying to connect. And he took us into the city landfill. And I remember being very confused. Like, why are we in a trash dump?
This right?
Yeah, La Chureca. Okay. This driver knows that we're trying to support kids, and he said we need to come here. And there it was. There was a township of maybe 200 or 300 families that carved out a little corner of the trash dump and built their little cardboard and tin shanties. And, you know, you could just see like, oh my gosh, you're kidding me. There's a community of people that are choosing to live inside this crazy environment. I mean, just chaotic, disgusting, the worst thing you could possibly envision. And then you're seeing these beautiful kids running around, and a lot of them are barefoot, and there's broken glass, and there's hospital waste, and there's burning embers. There's all kinds of stuff, and you're just like, how can this exist? And I kind of shut down. Like, I mean, I did not get out of the taxi. I just took pictures, and I was just like, what can I do here? And, you know, so there's the what could I ever do here? And there's fear. Why am I here, and am I safe? And those two things combined, where I was like, take pictures and let's leave. But it was such a compelling and such a strange experience to know that I had just seen that I couldn't go back to my hotel and pretend. I couldn't go back and unsee what we had, where Bismarck, the driver, had taken us. So I agreed to going back with him. And this is the smile that greeted me on one of our next trips. And that is the first time we met her. I still look at this picture. I mean, it's the inspiration for the film, obviously, Ileana's smile. But I look at that picture and I think, like, did she think we were family? Like, did she see us like, I've been waiting for you? Or did she think we were someone else? Like, that does not look like the kind of smile that you share with a stranger.
Yeah.
So, you know, she came up. Thank you for watching the film, by the way. But you saw that moment when she came up to the taxi window. That's the very first moment that we saw her, and she just was kind of like, "Hey, what are you guys doing in there?" And that invitation, that light and laughter in her, became you know, kind of an open door for us. And she wanted to introduce us to her family and community and sister. She wanted to share her new bike with us, which we could tell she had just found in the trash. And she wanted to play soccer, and the ball was like, I don't know what it was, but it was like wrapped in newspaper that had been in soot. And so there's this flat thing that we're all laughing, having a blast, but anytime it's hitting you, the soot's going all over you. So by the end of the game, I mean, we were covered head to toe in ash, and so she made hell into heaven for us that day. She's kind of like, come on, we can have fun anywhere. What are you guys doing stuck in that taxi?
And then, so yeah, I guess let's just stick for there. At first, when you got there, did you feel any type of way, like, you know, holding a camera to these people that are in this insane environment? Did you ever feel like uncomfortable, or what you were doing was like kind of, I don't know the word, but did you feel weird having a camera there at first?
Oh, I felt uncomfortable the whole time. I think I know where you're coming. Well, there's a couple different angles to that. Number one, I didn't want to be there like, oh, let's get pictures of these people struggling. Number two, I didn't want to put something in their face before extending my hand.
Yeah.
But I was so afraid, and I was so emotionally overwhelmed that, like, the smell was so bad. It was so heartbreaking what I was seeing. The noise was so loud that I was hearing. Breathing in dust and smoke was so brutal on your, like, I literally was just like, am I drowning in this environment? I don't know how to do this. And so safety, every now and then there's a boundary that happens when there's a wall, that, like an invisible wall. You take a picture and you kind of feel like there's a window up. So when things would get too intense for me, sometimes I would try to be a little discreet and go around, back off a little bit, but just take pictures, because that's all I could handle. If I took it down, I would just cry or I would run away. But somehow when it was an artistic thing, it's like, oh, there's the sunset. That's beautiful. Oh my gosh, there's a bunch of meat packers' waste and a boy that's collecting meat off of a bone. That is so disgusting. I don't know what to do here. The beauty and tragedy, the darkness, the light, the happiness and joy, and the deep, deep, deep grief, and this is so wrong. It was just so intense, and a camera kind of just allowed me to be curious without, when I felt like it was just too much.
Yeah, I don't know if I really have a question to this, but there's a part of I don't know if it was after your first visit or your second visit, but there's a quote of you while you're recording, and you say, "This really impacts me. We have to get out of here." And I just kind of want to know, like, that is a very, like, powerful statement. This impacts me. And I just want to know, like, the feeling that was going through you when you were like, we have to get out of here. Like, I can't be here any longer. Because I think if you don't see the movie, it's kind of hard to I mean, I'm sure for you who was there, it's way different. But, like, if you don't see the movie, it's kind of really hard to understand what was really happening there.
Yeah. That's another one of those interesting moments, Clint, where I can see so much of my ego and I can see so much of me. You know, there was in that instant, I was wearing a t-shirt that said The Relief Project. So what you don't know, you know, what the viewer doesn't see in the film is, like, I had tried to already tell the story of the kids and families in the trash dump, create a benefit album of songs called The Relief Project. You know, hosted a show at Irving Plaza in New York City, raised some funding. We really had something to offer. But when I would get into the trash dump and when I would bring things to give to the people there was this conflict in me of being kind of the mouthpiece, you know, kind of the guy on camera. Because I'm trying to, you know, like, when I go home, I need to show people that I'm there. But you're thinking about yourself in an environment where I'm like, oh man, this really impacts me. This is blowing my mind and my heart. And we got to get out of here. What are we doing? This is dangerous to us. This is dangerous to them. We have so much camera gear right now beyond my little camera that, if we did the math, I bet what we have in the taxi is more money than most of these families would see in, 10 years or 20 years of work. And I never saw crime. Not one time did I see or witness anything criminal in the trash dump.
What about the drugs, the dealing?
But what I was going to say is, in terms of my own physical safety, or the teams that we brought in, or someone trying to steal a watch, or I never witnessed any of that. What I did witness plenty of was just all kinds of violence and addiction. So yes, what the kids faced internally, how they were, child prostitution became a reality, drug addiction became a reality, all kinds of violence and abuses became the norm there. But anyway, it was just, I think when I finally, as I was learning, I don't want this to be about me on camera in the trash dump.
Yeah.
That's when things really opened up. When it was no longer about, I'm representing a nonprofit, that I'm going to go home and the Relief Project's going to do more concerts and we're going to do more albums. You know, like I kind of got out of the middle and then just felt a little bit more present.
Yeah, I want to touch. You mentioned like the child prostitution, the drug dealing, which is obviously terrible. Do you like? It seems like those people are just, they're just trapped. You know, they're stuck in this place, and it doesn't seem like there's a way out. And I understand why they fall into those things. Were you ever like faulting any of these people for their surroundings, or were you like? I know you're trying to help them, obviously, but like, how do you like navigate? You know, I'm sure there's people there that don't want help. And how do you navigate, like, that's just what they want, knowing it's the wrong thing? Like, how do you get through that personally?
Clint, there weren't very many people there that kind of like gave us the cold shoulder. They were more like, wow, I'm so and so. You're here. Come into my home. Here, by the way, here's our one chair. Will you sit in it? They were so generous with me. And a lot of them, honestly, if that is their home, that is their community. They've been born into generational poverty. They're not insecure about where they are. They don't know what they're missing. Some. So for the ones that are just like, this is home for me, they were so incredibly comfortable, present, and generous. And it was really disarming to me. And I also just realized, like, wait a minute. So much of this is systematic. So much of it's the structure how poverty is created and how people live inside it and don't have the ability to access a way through education, to access a way through job training, to access health, to access good food and water that's not toxic. I mean, there are so many things, so many strikes against people who live in communities like this, that the longer you're there, the longer you're like, this is where I would be if I was born into this community or into this area. So no, the more time I spent there, the more I realized, like, the people here are doing the best they can to survive, one day at a time, and some even one meal at a time, or one night at a time when they don't know where they're going to sleep. And their courage and their resilience and their work ethic, you know, I'm not watching lazy people sitting in a trash dump. I'm watching people waking up in the morning and running after the trash trucks. And if a trash truck comes close enough to them, they literally jump on the back of it like they're catching a train, because they want to be on the truck so that wherever the truck stops to dump its trash, they're the first ones there to take the best of it.
Now, is there a city close to the dump?
Yeah, it's Managua. It's the capital city of Nicaragua. It's about 2 million people.
Gotcha. You know, I saw actually last night. I watched the movie yesterday, and then last night afterwards, I got on Reddit, and I had never heard of Managua. Is how you say it?
Yeah.
I had never heard of that city in my life before, and then I watched the movie. I get on Reddit, and like one of the top threads is like, "What's a city in the world that like is unlike anything you've ever seen?" And it was like Cairo was number one, and then Managua was number two on that list.
Huh.
Never heard of it before in my life, and then saw that.
Do you remember what it said? Like why it was so unique?
Just like they mentioned the huffing glue. It was more just like sad. Just like kids huffing glue, people trying to steal things from you. Just like, you know, not great things.
Sure.
And I just thought that was kind of an interesting timing. So as sad as all that is, and like tough as it was for you, you did do a lot of beautiful things there. And my favorite part of the movie was probably the the scene with the Dia de Luz.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just tell us kind of about that is and what that is and how you guys came to hosting that?
Yeah, Dia de Luz means Day of Light. And I just thought, so after my first trip to Nicaragua, then I'm coming home telling all my friends, musicians, athletes, mom, dad, photographers, film, anyone I could find that would come with me on trips. So after probably 2 or 3 years of taking trips, there were lots of us that had been, on the ground before. And I just was like, you know what? I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a, health worker, social worker. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a politician. I'm not, wealthy. I can't buy the place. But I'm a musician. Like, who I am is I sing and make music and beat the drums. Maybe this is going to be something that we could do here. And we started thinking about, like, okay, there's the music we make, and then there's where you make your music. And I went, wait a minute, this could be really cool. So the same year that we played Madison Square Garden, we played the first Day of Light in the trash dump. We built a big stage. We brought in a big PA system. We told the locals where we were doing it, and they're like, what? You must be confused. And we're like, no, we're really doing it. So we built this kind of festival environment and had an awesome day. We had Brazilian friends that flew in through Tiago, because Tiago was playing bass, and he brought all his friends to come. And then we had an incredible drummer named Paul Stivitz, and Ray from Puerto Rico was playing percussion, and just, anyone that wanted to make music together. A gal named Whitney White. We all sang and made music. And there were college kids that came on an alternative spring break, and we had soccer players, and just anything we could do with sports and music and hang time to create community. And that dirty, crazy day of making music in the trash dump was just as good, if not better, than playing Madison Square Garden. Like, the feeling of making music there, and imagining for most of the people that live there that they don't go to concerts. They might not have had a live show like this put in front of them ever, and to see the dancing and joy. And we were one that day. We were all sweaty. We were all dirty. We were speaking the same language because it was music, We were jumping together, and yeah, it was significant. So from that day forward, we did maybe 6 or 8 annual Days of Light, and had various artists come down over the years. One was Rodrigo and Gabriela. They came down and played music in 2015, I believe. So we've had some incredible experiences with artists that came down to play in the trash dump, and then also just lots of us on the ground, and a lot of Nicaraguan musicians too.
And are you still going there pretty frequently?
Not as much now.
No.
I would love to, and I mean, I was single, and I was not in a band, and didn't, in 2006, 5, 6, 7, 8, I probably went every month.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I just went over and over and over again. And my friend Bismarck was the taxi driver. He and I felt like I found a soulmate in Bismarck. He's 8 days older than me. He wanted to help the kids. I wanted to help the kids. I felt like, all right, I'm going to land, and Bismarck's going to be there, and the rest is just adventure. And, we started Love, Light, and Melody in 2007, which is a nonprofit to pull all of this story together, and the people that wanted to donate and partner up with us to serve these kids. Now it's probably, once every year, once every 2 years, but we have a school built, Ileana School of Hope, and we're kind of skipping over some of the story. So if you want me to share what happened in 2009 and 2011, I can, or if you want to ask some questions, that's fine.
Yeah, why don't you share what happened?
Well, just as we were, so if 2007 was our first Day of Light, then we did another one in 2008. We did, 2009 and 10. We were starting to, expand on the idea and getting excited. And then out of nowhere, Ileana's sister Mercedes, that had become one of our, kind of a North Star to us and to our work, she went into the hospital, and we thought that it was something bronchial because they endure so much, they breathe in so much smoke. And we didn't think anything of it. And a couple days later, she died. And we found out that she had AIDS, and that she was just in the final stages of her lungs collapsing. And that shook all of us. Like, we're like, wait a minute. These aren't kids breathing in smoke and taking a quick trip to the doctor's office. There must be something going on, beneath the surface. When we're not here, like when we're here, it brings out the best in us, brings out the best in them. It's this dynamic of like, yeah, it's not as bad as it seems. And then to realize that it's worse than what you thought it could be in terms of how young girls, for the most part, some boys too, I'm sure, but like sexual currency with your body, and you're not even close to 18, you're 12, 13, 14, and trash truck drivers are preying on some kids, and there's, families in the trash dump that are intentionally getting kids hooked on crack and sending them out into the fields to work longer hours to come back to get another hit, to go back out to work longer hours, and just so many things that we didn't have eyes for. So it was a very sobering thing to lose Mercedes. And then a year and a half later, Ileana, similar situation. She got really sick, and she went into the hospital. And Bismarck and I were there with her. And at the top private hospital in the country, the doctor was so upset that she hadn't come in sooner because they had, retrovirals and free medication for her. And he's just like, I don't understand. Like, who could possibly let children get sick like this when they have free access here? And I'm in the back of my mind, I'm like, because they don't know, and their parents don't know, and no one knows that they can just show up here, and we're doing the best we can, and here she is. And the doctor was so validating and honored her and treated her like any of his private big money patients. And I went home to Denver after 3 or 4 days of her being in the hospital, and then I got a phone call from Bismarck that she had passed. So, we just thought that Ileana and Mercedes were going to outlive their circumstances, and we're going to find, a path because of their bravery and because of their smarts and because of they were just tough and super, super brilliant and so charismatic, so we imagined that they would make it. And when they didn't, we all just took a breath and went, there's got to be more. What are we missing here?
When that happened, like Ileana and Mercedes, they're kind of your like your motivation, like the shining light when you're there. When that light goes out, did you felt discouraged, or were you almost more encouraged to like have more of an impact and try to be able to do more for those kids?
No, we were honestly we were crushed and super discouraged and didn't do the Day of Light and, kind of shut things down. And I think a lot of it for me, kind of leading the charge on building up Love, Light, Melody and building up this Day of Light annual event, and bringing a lot of people together around this community of kids, and feeling like I didn't know what was really what the scariest dangers and pitfalls were beneath the surface. I just felt like it was my fault, that some of it was my fault, and had to sit with those questions like, could I have done something differently? Could we have done something differently? And if we could have, what does that say? And is it okay what we experienced and what we did? A 2020 hindsight, man. It's hard. It's hard to sit with that when someone's gone. When someone has died and you have 2020 hindsight about what they were struggling with, it's hard to reconcile that after a couple of years of discouragement and grieving with hundreds of people, Clint. I mean, we had hundreds of people from 5 or 6 different countries that had come down over the years and met Ileana and Mercedes, and same thing. They got this spiritual tattoo from meeting Ileana once, and there's this like, what? This like who is she? How is she so filled with light given the darkness and where she lives? And so there were a lot that the loss of Mercedes and Ileana, it had quite a ripple effect with a lot of people. And after enough conversations, we just thought, well, we weren't ever setting out to do anything more than share their stories with our communities. But maybe if we pull all of our cameras together and all of our journals, and I think they gave us a lot more of their life story than we think. And that's when the idea, I remember my friend Fernanda and I were having a pretty sad day, like we were together and we're just remembering Nicaragua and remembering the whole experience. And I was like, what do you think was the very first, like, what's the opening step in all of this? And both of us just went, where's that picture? Where is that? It's that. It's Ileana's smile. That was the moment we felt seen and invited in. And that was the moment, that photo is what we shared with everyone, saying, would you guys believe that this smile lives in a trash dump, that this bright light could be in a place that awful? And so from that point, we started pulling all of our stories and photos and film into this kind of filter of Ileana's smile, thinking, okay, this is a sad story, but there's also a lot of beauty and hope in it, and there's a lot of other kids whose lives are hanging in the balance right now.
Yeah. What can we do as normal people? What can we do to help with the Love, Light, and Melody Foundation, and kind of just make people aware of what's happening?
Oh man, I think the first thing is just watch her film. I mean, 11 years it took.
And where is that? Where can we watch that at?
Apple TV, just search Ileana's Smile, Amazon, and YouTube. Those are the 3 platforms.
Okay.
It's in every English-speaking country, and we're going to roll it out in Spanish and Portuguese by the end of this next year. And our goal is that it would be available nearly worldwide, just depending on the language. But watch the story first to kind of like immerse yourself in it and walk in it and sort of give yourself that tattoo. I find it really helpful in terms of just inspiring gratefulness in our own lives. We spend way too much time here thinking what we don't have because we don't know what others live with or without.
We really do have, yeah.
So generosity and gratefulness in you as you watch it, and then also build Ileana's School of Hope with us. It's a film to build a school. That's literally Ileana's Smile, a film to build a school. We have a $1.6 million campus expansion that we're raising right now, and everything's done. We've bought the land for it. Ileana's School of Hope right now goes through 6th grade, but we want it to go through high school. And so if we can take the land that we've bought and the architects and engineers that have designed this beautiful campus, like we have a 3D rendering of it. When we build that, we have 600 students that can be there as opposed to 200. So that's our heart. So if any of you want to help us and really feel like you are contributing to the light, $20, $50, $100, whatever you want to give to lovelightandmelody.org is literally placing a brick in that school build.
And I'll put a link in the description for everybody listening to it. You can just find it right there and go right to it if you want to donate.
Thanks, Clint.
Yeah, Brad, this has been a blast. It's a lot of these conversations I have on this podcast are pretty jovial and fun, So for me, after watching that movie, it's really special to hear you talk about that and tell her story from your point of view. So I appreciate you coming on. Before we wrap up, I have one last question. You've been creating music your whole life, and you just created this beautiful film. I want to know, how one helps the other, and, what's the parallels between the two of those?
Well, I think the most powerful art carries powerful story. And, of course, you can imagine something that is super compelling. Like Chad didn't know the general that gave his life to essentially step between. He let his soldiers go and he took the fall. That's an imagined story, and the song The General still carries truth today. it asks a big question, like, is violence and war really worth it? And when I think of, Ileana's film, I wrote a song called Ileana when she was alive, and I played it for her. And then when she died, I played that song again and listened to the lyrics, and they had like a deeper meaning after she was gone that I didn't know and I wrote the song. So creating film, which is the visual story that goes with kind of like the song, the experience. I just think that, the most profound art in the world will speak to you, Clint, differently than me. And you would tell me what you saw in the film, and I would say, oh man, that's amazing. I don't get to tell you, no, that's not right, Clint. What's in the film? A song or a film that rattles your cage a little bit, you've got truth now to share with me, and you've got questions to share with people who you hopefully listen to that song with or watch the film with.
Awesome. Well, Brad, again, thanks so much, man. Go watch Ileana Smile. Check out lovelightandmelody.com. Is that right? .org. And then go see a Dispatch show. You guys are starting June 3rd is the tour, right?
Yeah, June 3rd through August 8th.
Okay, and I think you guys are going to come to Asheville, so I'm going to try and go see you.
Oh, dude, please come and introduce yourself. I'd love to meet you.
Okay, what is the date for that?
I think, don't hold me to this, I think it's June 14th.
I believe I'm in town, so.
Okay, check it. Check it.
Well, Brad, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Clint, cheers. I really appreciate your time.
You just got jammed.
Welcome back from that interview with Brad, guys. A little different than, what we usually do. That one was a little more, still the music side of things, but kind of got into some heavier stuff, and I can't reiterate enough, man. Go check the movie out. You won't regret it. It's an awesome movie. Brad was a really cool dude. They'll be in Nashville in a couple weeks, and I think I'm going to go try to check them out. So yeah, great episode today. I really enjoyed that interview. We have another great interview on Thursday with Mustang McGee from Daniel Donato's Cosmic Country. He's the man, great bass player, plays stand-up and electric on stage. Really cool to watch. And yeah, man, so have a great week, you guys. I will see you all Thursday with a brand new episode. And remember, wherever you are right now is exactly where you're supposed to be.
Come along, have a drink with me. We can talk about the world and how the world is turned so slow. Day and night I found cars they drive and planes they fly. I look into the sun and the sky, you're so bright. It's you that I have found. Oh, and I know there's not much longer now. Or if the world would just slow down. The stars, they sail across the sky, and I could watch you dance all through the night. When the rhythm is right, oh, and I know the sun is rising now. Or if the world would just slow down. So you move with me and I'll move with you, and I could spend the rest of my life by your side. It's you that I have found. Oh, and I know not much longer now. or if the world would just slow down. There's not much longer now. Or if the world would just slow down.